What does nuclear power mean to Ohio? It's, I'm not from Ohio, so I'm probably not the best person to answer this, but it's pretty obvious that there's some very big benefits to nuclear power in Ohio. First, it represents 90% of your non-carbon emitting energy, which is important if you're concerned about clean air and about global warming. Second, it represents a continuum of energy. In other words, during very cold periods, during severe weather periods, it sometimes stresses other forms of energy, but nuclear power runs 24/7. And in fact, during the polar vortex of 2014, it's very likely that Ohio and my part of the country in New England would have experienced brownouts if we hadn't had nuclear power to pick up the energy production when other facilities and other types of energy production weren't able to do that. Thirdly, of course, is the jobs and the economic base. It represents about $23 million, I understand, of taxes every year in the communities. It represents 1,300 jobs. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, because those jobs translate into other jobs and small businesses. We in New Hampshire have had the experience of closing a nuclear power plant prematurely, something called Vermont Yankee. The economic impact on the region where it closed was devastating, and especially on something that people don't think about, which is the small businesses that support the big business. They lost up to 20% of their gross income, and some of them actually had to close. So nuclear power plays a big role in Ohio, and if you're smart, you'll keep it. I don't know whether the question is how concerned am I that these two major facilities will close. Obviously, the community is very concerned, or this issue would not be at the point that it's at. It's being debated very aggressively, and there are some very significant and substantive proposals for how to avoid closure. So clearly it is a threat, and I don't think it's an idle threat. I think it's a real threat, and it comes from the fact that nuclear energy and all energy in this part of the country and in New England, where I'm from, is priced on what's known as basically a spot market. And facilities like nuclear power, which involve huge capital investment that run out over 20, 30, 40, 50 years, don't get credit for that capital investment in a spot market contest. And so it puts them at a huge disadvantage in pricing. And so, yeah, I think these facilities probably are at risk. What's the most effective way to get support from legislatures to support the plants? I think the best way, obviously, is to communicate the issue, show that there's a broad coalition of support, and I've certainly seen that here in Ohio. I've been here twice, testified before the Senate committee, heard from a lot of different people. The mayor of Akron did a fabulous job. A couple of local ministers from churches in the region did fabulous jobs about the impact of closure of these plants on their congregations and on the city of Akron and other places. And put together that coalition and communicate. That's what government is, in our system. It's democracy, and if you gather a good group of people to make a strong case based on facts and substance, then your arguments will be heard and hopefully you'll be successful.